Hi everyone, this is Joanna. Welcome to my channel. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I love playing with Pebeo Prism paints. Now Pebeo has different lines of paints, but the Prism line is amazing. You get that honeycomb effect, and I have made a bunch of pendants already using it, and I think I want to make more because every time I touch that paint I remember how much I love it. Now let me show you guys how I made today's pendant. It's not very difficult, and yes, we are going to use the Pebeo paints. So for the clay today, I'm using suede, Sculpey suede and pearl, and I'm turning it into a Skinner blend. I really don't know if you need to go to this extent and create a Skinner blend. You basically want to have different shades of the brown. That's what I'm after. So here you have it. I just cut off both ends of the Skinner blend, and I'm actually going to create another shade with it. So you can see that in my right hand I had more pearl than in the left hand, so I got different shades. And once I get all my clay mixed up and rolled out on the thickest setting of the pasta machine, including the Skinner blend, what I'm doing is I'm just chopping into tiny little pieces. All right, so that's all I'm going after. So you can see there's some pearl in this as well, but it's a very nice mix of colors. Okay, and once I have it all mixed, I'm putting it on my tile just to keep it a little bit cleaner, and I'm adding some white mica powder. Now pearl works. This one is pearl, I think it's called luster. I'm going to link it in the description below, but you just put mica powder all over it. You can add more to it. You can make sure that the pieces are not too big, and that's all I'm doing. I'm just mixing that mica powder in, and now, oh my gosh, look at that. I'm adding acrylic paint to it, but look at those gloves. Doesn't it remind you of Grinch's hand? You know, those paws of his. I could not put that glove on even I really wanted to, but anyways, so basically what I did was I mixed in some acrylic paint, and then I let it sit overnight until it was nice and dry, and now I'm just turning into one glob, or you know, whatever you want to call it. One glob of clay, and now that it's nice and dry, it's much easier to handle. Some people don't let it dry at all and just work with the wet clay when they added with the wet paint when they added to the clay. Okay, so it's time to do some slicing. This is always a very exciting moment because you really don't know how that first slice is going to come out. And I'm using pearl for my backing, and I rolled it out on the thickest setting of my pasta machine. And here we go, the first slice. Oops, look at that. I really love how you can see the different shades of the suede. You have some that are mixed in with the pearl. You have some darker ones. There's that little tiny shine of the mica powder that we added in between the pieces. It really came out super, super nice. I'm very happy with it. And I also wanted it to have really small, tiny pieces. So this is coming out perfect. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm just going to turn it into a small sheet, kind of. I'm going to smooth it out with white paper, and I'm going to place it on my pearl. And that's how I'm going to start building my pendant. And it's funny because I watch myself and I'm like, how come I didn't use this slice or that slice? It's like, it's funny when you're in the trance of working, you just go with it. You I'm not quite sure what I was thinking when I was putting all those slices together, why I was choosing one slice over the other. But here you have it. Now it's becoming nice and smooth, and I'm going to give it a nice sharp cut. I was kind of going for like a squiggly line, but it did not work at all. It looks pretty much like a straight line after I cut it, and then I place it on the clay and just attach it. I don't want to push it too hard, but I want to make sure that those pieces are attached. And now I'm just cutting it out with my circle cutter. and I wanted the pearl part. That one is going to be left for my Pebeo paints, and then on the right hand side you have the suede. Now I decided to create some borders with the suede clay, so I'm just going to be cutting very thin pieces of clay to create the borders. You don't need any borders for Pebeo paints, but I always feel like when you create a border and that paint is going to sit in there, you give it more you give them more opportunity to move around, because it's not going to try to slide off the pendant. It's just like you hold it in the pendant. But so that was my first border, and that's the border between the pearl or the Pebeo paints that I'm going to place and the suede piece of clay. And now it's all about being creative. You can do the borders whichever way you want. You can see that I'm just playing with it. I'm having fun. It really is. This creative process is just so fun. I think that you guys should really try it out. And the nice thing is, if you don't like the border in one way, just go and move it, put it in a different way. But you can see that I'm just creating some kind of a vessel where that Pebeo Prisme paint can sit and do its magic. So I'm going to create a half, not a frame. I don't want to frame the entire pendant, but I kind of wanted to frame the pearl part where the Pebeo paint is going to sit. So I'm framing it, and then that frame is kind of flowing into my suede portion of the pendant. But as with the time, you'll see that I'm even like afterwards, after it's baked, I sand it down so that kind of it just flows into the suede. It does not take a lot of space on the suede part of the pendant. So you can see here, I'm kind of trying to make it look like it just belongs there. So I'm taking the frame and kind of just, making it fit there. But you can see right here, I'm going to, after I pull this out of the oven, it's going to be really easy for me to apply that Pebeo paint into those two compartments that I just created. And here I just wanted to show you guys how different of an effect you can have with the same slice of clay if you run it through the pasta machine. And you can see on the right hand side, I did just that, and how different that slice looks after you run it through the pasta machine. So that's an option for you guys too. Okay, the pendant is out of the oven, and it's cooled, and I have my Pebeo paints, and as you have seen me do in all my other videos, you have to give it a really good stir. And when I'm talking about a stir, I really do think that I mixed each paint at least 2 minutes. Now I'm going to give you the names. I know this one is eggshell. I don't remember what the other one was, but they both get a very good stir. And as you can see, when you start stirring, you can see that you really do see the change in the paint. And here we are ready. And because I do not trust myself, I try to cover the suede part of the pendant with washi tape just in case I drip, because I really don't want to drip on the suede part. And now it is all about fun and applying the Pebeo paint. I'm using a toothpick here. I figured that would be a very good vessel to transfer the paint into my pendant without really dripping on my frame, because I don't want the drips on my frame, and I really don't want it on that middle part as well. Now you have to understand that the Pebeo paint and the Prisme paint, it will be able to travel. Okay, so you cannot just put a thin layer of paint and expect to get an amazing effect. You actually do have to put quite a bit of paint in there so that there is that possibility for it to move around and travel. So don't expect to get any awesome result if you don't put enough paint, but that you guys have to play with, and you will see when it starts changing. You just have to, it doesn't get hard right away. So, you know, within 5 or 6 minutes, you already see this little prism effect happening. It really is fun. And you can go back and you can add more paint to it and so on and so forth. And you can see here, I'm just going to leave my pendant to sit for a while after I'm satisfied with the way it looks. And you can see I'm adding all those different designs, and the end product is nothing like it. The paint is going to do what the paint wants to do, pretty much. Let me see here if we can see a little bit better, and we can. You can totally see how, oh my gosh, you know, this shot is really not all that great, but you can see that there is a design in it, and it was created by itself. I did not do anything with it. Now I added resin to it, and I added resin, I think, in 2 layers. Because 1 layer was not enough, and I used the UV resin for it. And I have to tell you, this is my first time when I'm trying to drill through UV resin. Oh my goodness, I could not drill it for anything. I just could not drill it. It was to the point where I started looking for those little tiny electrical drills, because I'm like, I won't be able to use, I can't do it. This is just absolutely crazy. I mean, it took me at least 5 minutes, where with my 2-part resin, it takes me just like a couple of seconds to drill through it. I'm not quite sure why that is, but that is definitely one of the differences between the UV resin and the 2-part resin that I have just noticed. And I'm going to use just a clamp on it. It's so easy, and I think it's going to look very pretty. It's not going to take it away from the pendant, which I don't want it to be taken away, because I love the way this pendant came out. Now that I look at it, I really don't know if suede should have been the choice of color for me. Maybe actually like the graphite would have been better. Maybe that would have been a better choice with the colors that I chose of the Pebeo paint. But still, I love this pendant. Came out so great, and it's always such a surprise because you really don't know how that prism paint is going to act. Well, my friends, I really hope you enjoy this video, and let me know what you think about it, and if you guys are using Pebeo paints. And with that being said, till next time, my friends. Ta-ta!